Okay, this video is Isty, a Kalapulia girl. During this video, I will be modeling how to visualize as a reading comprehension strategy. So I will be visualizing while I read. And after I visualized what I read, I will summarize at the very end another comprehension strategy. So first, the questions I'll be thinking about while I read. Number 1, what foods did the women of Itzy's band gather? 2, what kind of homes did they live in? 3, describe the way Itzy's mother cooked the stew. So I'll be really paying attention when I read about how she cooks the stew. 4, why was Itzy's family going to move? 5, why don't you move for the same reasons? So I'm going to be looking for why Itzy's family moves and be thinking about why is it that I don't ever move for those reasons. 6, how did the people of inland valleys travel? And 7, how many different Indian languages were spoken in Oregon Territory? Okay. Itzy was a girl your age. She lived with her family in a wooden plank house. As you read about Itzy, imagine you are there with her. Try to hear the sounds, feel the ground as she works, and smell the food she's cooking. So that is perfect. That is visualizing. So, Itzy shoved her digging stick into the damp soil beneath a blue camas flower. She twisted and pulled the handle down. Her fingers quickly pulled a camas bulb from the clump of soil that came up. It looked like a small onion. Dropping it into her willow basket, she dug her stick in again for another one. Moving along with her sister, her mother, and her aunt, she dug up one bulb after another. So her and those women are digging camas bulbs. They're gathering camas bulbs. As Itzy worked, a song formed in her head about spring. It felt good to be working in warm sun. Winter had been long, cold, and wet. She had grown bored with working on baskets in the smoky plank house. The dried camas, fish, and acorn soup had become tiresome. The dried camas and fish and acorn soup had become tiresome. She longed for fresh green cattail shoots. She dreamed of the first fresh salmon of this river. Now that spring had finally come, the spirits of fish and plants were generous. Itzy and her people were thankful. Now they must all work hard to gather food. Some of it would be used for the summer feasts. Some would be saved for the next long winter. The women of Itzy's band worked hard in the fields, marshes, and on the hills. They gathered leaves and roots of plants. They knew from long tradition which ones to gather for food and medicine. Later in the summer and fall, they would also gather seeds and berries. So that's a good description of all the foods that Itzy's the women in Itzy's band. That's a good example of all the food they would gather. Itzy sat back on her heels to rest and looked down across the meadow. She could see the long plank and bark houses of her winter village. Soon they would be leaving. Her family and the rest of the band would live in smaller huts in the summer. They would move from place to place to harvest different foods. It would be fun to travel and see people from other bands again. Itzy's eyes wandered past the village to the river. At the rapids, she could see the men and boys working. Most of the fish runs were over. The drying racks were full of salmon. The men took turns wading in the cold water and netting a few that still came. The boys, like Itzy's brother, helped drag them to shore. On shore, some of the village women worked. They cut the fish in half. The split fish would be hung to dry. Soon the salmon would stop coming, and then the men would spend most of their time hunting. Itzy's brother had begun hunting last year and had trapped many rabbits and squirrels. Maybe this year he would get his first deer. "Stop your dreaming, Itzy," her mother called up from the hill. "You will get caught in a dream world and have to stay." The other women and girls laughed. Itzy laughed too. She picked up her heavy basket and digging stick and moved to where the others were working. Grandfather had told stories about the dream world around the fire on cold winter nights. Kneeling, she again pushed her stick into the ground to dig up more kama's roots. Okay, so far I've been visualizing Itsy. She lives in a village full of plank houses. She knows she's going to have to move soon because the seasons are changing. She and the women are gathering things like seeds and berries and kama's bulbs, and the men are working on the salmon runs and gathering fish.